Welcome to the Gaming Coop, the best space to talk about intellectual properties. Let's introduce today's players. Player 1, Minions. Minions have been on this planet for far longer than we have. They go by many names: Dave, Carl, Paul, Mike. Oh, that one is Norbert. He's an idiot. They're all different, but they all share the same goal: to serve the most despicable master they could find. Making their master happy was their tribe's very reason for existence. But that's not to say that they didn't have other passions. Finding a boss was easy, but keeping a boss, therein lies the rub. It's Anthony.
Sup? Am I a minion or the ringleader?
Yes.
All right.
Player 2 is a lost Korok with a backpack trying to find his friend. It's Chris. It's true.
Aw.
Player 3 wants Roman death squads around the perimeter 24/7. He wants 10,000 tough guys and 10,000 soft guys to make the tough guys look tougher. And here's how he wants them to be arranged: tough, tough, soft, tough, soft, soft, tough, tough, soft, soft, tough, tough, soft. It's Matt.
Yes.
Player 4 appears in a puff of wind and leaves when you finish a partially completed pattern of stones and has a little golden treat for you. She's the cutest dang Korok we've ever seen. It's Kelsey.
Thanks, Anthony.
I sense
You're welcome.
I sense a theme. And finally, player 5. You're a bat now. You're a man now. You're a bat. You're a man. You're a bat. You're a man. It's Walsh.
Wow, these are great.
Good batch.
A plus game, everyone.
Welcome everyone to the Gaming Coop. Today we are talking licensed video games. This is our second time doing this. It's licensed 2. We have a plentiful of licensed games that we are going to talk about today. Some that are new, some that are from our childhood. And we're going to start with one that's a little bit on the new side. In fact, I don't think is even fully out of early access yet. And that is Disney Dreamlight Valley. And Anthony, you are going to lead that discussion.
Sup? All right. So every time we do a Gaming Coop, we just rename ourselves on Discord. So my name is There's a Rat, in the kitchen. And if they let me use the full name, I would have put Making Soup. And I'm not really like a big Disney fan. Like, I enjoy the movies, I cry at the sentimental bits, but I'm not really like a Disney adult. And so I gravitated towards Dreamlight Valley because it received a lot of attention for being that kind of like slice of life simulator like Animal Crossing is, like Stardew Valley is. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment of it. It's in a very deep layer of Disney, of course. Like, everybody, all your townsfolk are Disney characters. And they come from their own little Disney worlds, and you know, there are little Disney decorations everywhere. But, you know, beyond the branding, it's pretty fun. You have crops that you can grow and sell for money. You can also use those crops to cook dishes. You can go fishing. You can mine for rocks and minerals and gems and stuff. And they also have quest lines where they actually have like an overarching story that is surprisingly adult and a bit existential. There's this valley where all these Disney characters come and play, but it was taken over by this mist and these vines, and an event called the Forgetting happened, where everybody like forgot about the valley and moved back to their home and forgot about all their friendships and each other. And that's just horrible, right? Like, gut-wrenching shit. And then you find out that Minnie is trapped in a dimension between living and not existing. And that she has brief moments of lucidity where she pops up in the Dreamlight Valley dimension and can't hear or see anyone.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Super horrifying.
Yeah. And you end up bringing her out of it. Like, you hang out with Mickey, and you do and find all the things that Minnie loved, and eventually being like super mindful of Minnie brings her back into this world. But I haven't really talked to her. Like, she's brought back and she has quests for me, but I haven't talked to her.
Just kind of leaving her to deal with her trauma.
I did it for Mickey, honestly. But,
sure.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's interesting stuff like that, and it's kind of like Kingdom Hearts in a way, in that they have this theme of like darkness versus light and friendship versus selfishness, and you got to be happy and bring everybody back together. And that's why this next point is so funny to me, because your townsfolk, you get to tell them what their hobby is, right? And essentially their hobby means that they're going to help you with one aspect of making money or generating things in the valley, which is a great concept, right? Because if you tell your buddy that they like fishing, if you go fishing, they'll catch an extra sometimes of the fish that you catch. So like if you get a super rare fish, they'll be like, oh, look, I got one too, and give it to you, which is awesome. That's so cool. And for the most part, I started the game off really respecting what the characters like and making the right choices. Like, you start off with Goofy as a friend, and Goofy is like, I live to fish. I'm like, all right, yeah, Goofy, you'll fish. And then I rescued Wally, and Wally loves plants, and I'm like, Wally, you are my gardening buddy. And Moana loves to fish. Maui loves to smash things, so he helps me break rocks to get minerals. But what I learned is that farming is by far the most lucrative opportunity. So everyone is assigned to be a farmer now. I don't care what they like to do in their free time. This is Capitalism Valley, baby, and they are helping me make bank. Like, Scrooge McDuck is supposed to be the greediest person on the island. I own Scrooge, okay? And, like, your buddy gets better at helping you the more friendship they have with you. And, like, when you're hanging out and doing the thing that you told them that they like to do, they become better friends with you. The only twist there is that there's a cap after which they don't gain any more friendship XP. They don't give you any more rewards or quests. So the second I reach max friendship with anyone, they're dead to me. I start farming with somebody else. I don't call them back. I don't do their quests. I move on to the next one. And I don't think that's in their vision, but
They're being like the makers of the game. Like, you don't think that was the intention?
yeah, I mean, like, if Disney saw kids being ruthless capitalists, they'd probably be a little shocked, a little proud,
Yeah, I was going to say.
shocked.
I'm gonna say, I think they'd be like, yeah, we are teaching the next generation to value our values.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. But
And also, we love the gays when convenient.
yeah,
And only in the United States.
Right.
Right. But
Oh no.
just going back to it, it's fun. And you can do things like they don't enforce like the gender binary when it comes to clothing, which is great. I think that's a really nice detail, and I think that you can change your character as much as you want whenever you want, which is really nice. And the game is just beautiful. Like, the graphics in it are really impressive. I'm sharing a few screenshots now, but it's like has really nice lighting and visual effects, and the skyscapes are really beautiful looking. And
I like your skeleton outfit.
Thank you. Yeah, it was part of the Halloween event. I had to look spooky.
Love that kitchen. Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's like you show up to Remy's world and you help him by cooking. And he opens his restaurant and you make recipes and serve them to your other villagers. And like that's how you build friendship with them too. So it's nice. There's a lot of really fun things to do, and there's a lot of quests. And it's the kind of game where if you play it every day, you kind of run out of content, especially because it's early access, and you can get burnt out on it. But I come back to it, every month or two, and I play for a few days and have a lot of fun. I don't really, as I said, I'm not like the biggest Disney fan, so I'm not here just because you can like hang out with Mickey Mouse or anything. And I kind of expected that to be a sore spot with me because for some reason I expect like kid-friendly characters to not really have a lot of personality and to be kind of like basic and bland. Um, but I feel like for the most part, the way that they've written the characters, they've actually made them like interesting and relatable in a way, which is nice. And you also have, it's not just like the good characters. There are also villains as well, like Ursula, and Scar. And people kind of, they kind of clash with the nicer villagers. So there's sometimes little conflicts and stuff. But the overall point that I'm getting to is that the game is more complex than I expected it to be. And the tone is also different than I expected it to be. Like the tone is magical, the music is magical, the furniture that you can place around your house, it's all very soft and nice, but I'm I'm making it sound like the game is edgy. It's honestly not, but it's
It gets a
more,
little edgy. I think it has its moments.
it does. And like it's not the kind of basic writing that I was expecting from it. I'm continuing to be pleasantly surprised by what they put into it. And yeah, overall, I'm happy with it. It's going free to play once it launches. So, I mean, I guess we'll see where the monetization stands. Um, but I think that even if you just play it as a free player, that you're going to be able to really enjoy a lot of what's here.
Like a particular character that you're supposed to enjoy and you absolutely had a meltdown over it though?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce her name because I haven't seen the movie, but Mother Gothel, is that right?
No, that's not who I'm referring to. I'm referring to
Oh,
he
okay.
figured it out. Yeah.
So I don't like Mother Gothel, and they did a great job of this, but she'll be like, "Oh, your clothes are so ugly. Oh, I'm just joking. What's up? How are you today?" And I'm like, "You say that every time you see me? You're just mean. I don't like you." But Kristoff, okay?
Fucking Kristoff.
Kristoff thought that he was going to, he's like, "You know what? There are two capitalists on the island. Let's get a third." And so he asked me for a specific type of stick. Not the basic kind of stick, the more like refined, stronger, rare kind of stick. And he wanted like an unreasonable number of them. And I'm like, oh man, we're gearing up for something good here. So I get him all his materials. It takes me like several days in real life to like keep coming back and getting them. And I give it to him. And Kristoff opens up a market stall selling me back basic materials that he couldn't even build his stall out of. And I'm like, what the heck, man? Did I just like, it's like when you set up like a little fast food station for like a child to play at and they have like plastic food and you're like, ooh, yum, that's so good. But it's like if you had to hire a construction crew to actually make it out of like cement and metal and shit. Just unreal. I hate Kristoff.
I can't. It's the funniest thing ever. It's like a game that's just supposed to be genuinely feel good, and Anthony's like, I'm gonna make this a capitalist nightmare and be antagonized the entire time.
God. Horrible. Horrible.
Hey, look, I mean, this is from Gameloft, which is a notorious developer who, granted, I give them credit, they've done a great job, it seems like, with Dreamlight Valley and Disney Speedstorm that's out that came out last month or whatever. But they are notorious for being very capitalistic and being very much like,
Yes.
hey, hey, do you want all these cool cosmetics? We're gonna fucking microtransaction the shit out of you. So, I mean, I understand Anthony adopting that personality to conquer the game.
Yes.
But not reflective of how Anthony actually feels about capitalism.
Yes, true. I did want to add one little detail.
The things said on the Gaming Coop are not reflective of the Gaming Coop franchise and our titles.
The views
We do not
presented
claim-
are
yeah.
the individual's
Are
own.
the individual, yeah, exactly.
and Team Chaos Productions has two separate thought processes. We're not.
We have parted ways with the host known as Anthony.
They have his head in a freezer. It's true. Why else do you think they named a movie Frozen? It's so that when you look up Walt Disney Frozen head, you get results for the movie.
Why? Okay.
Anyway,
you know what? That's fine.
one of my favorite features about
Why does
the
that
game...
remind me of? There's something else.
You know what? I literally just Googled Walt Disney Frozen, and the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of them are about the head.
Oh, okay. All right. So they did not do a good enough job. It did not work out for them.
Conspiracy theories aside, I almost forgot to mention my favorite feature, which is that in each of the little biomes, there are wild animals. And they're all peaceful. They're not going to, like, attack you or anything. But, like, there's raccoons, and you can feed them. And if you feed them their favorite food, they become your pet, and you get to take them around on adventures with you.
That's cute.
So there's like raccoons, there's squirrels, there's crows, there's turtles, alligators, like baby alligators, not like 5-foot long alligators, just to be clear.
Wait, I'm sorry. This is like kind of deviating slightly, but why did we all, unless this was just me, did we not all grow up thinking that Walt Disney had himself frozen when he died?
I think I probably.
Why was that
believe it too.
perpetuated?
I don't know.
It's one of the biggest conspiracy theories out there.
Well, why would it even be a conspiracy theory? Like, I'm so
because
confused
Disney's
right now.
the biggest fucking media company.
Yeah.
So there's weird shit.
Like, there are other
surrounds them.
people
Walt
who
Disney's a
have
legend.
been cryogenically preserved. So why do
I think it's also because a lot of our pieces of media have pushed the joke and the idea.
I guess so, but I
That's
grew up
probably it.
genuinely thinking, and like a few years ago, I found out he was fucking buried in the ground. I was like, well, that's boring as all shit. I thought you were frozen.
No,
Was it
just
by a
his
news
just his head
network?
was frozen.
Do you
Was it by a
think?
news network that he owns?
Ooh.
Do you think?
I don't know, but it wasn't just
was-
his head. I grew up thinking his entire person was
Oh.
frozen.
Do you
Like,
think it was
like Austin Powers style, like Dr. Evil
Right.
goes and steals his mojo
No,
with a
for
syringe,
sure, for sure.
and
Do
he's
you-
just standing there in the ice.
Do you think it was perpetuated by the vault, the existence of the vault in the commercials? Because that's what I always
Ooh,
thought
maybe.
about. Where
No,
I was just
That
I didn't
they
think it
kept
was
his fucking head with all
in
the
the Disney
DVDs.
vault, in with like
In the
the original
DVDs.
release of Dumbo? Absolutely not, Chris.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking the whole time.
No.
That is such a funny connection.
They would open up the
My-
vault and the smell would be atrocious. And they're like, we
they
just
saw the
need to
videotape.
get Sleeping Beauty. We just need to grab Sleeping Beauty. It's the 30th year.
They
My
hazed
only
the
other-
interns by sending them in to get like the original reel of Dumbo. They're like, go in the creepy room. And they lock them in there for 5 minutes.
My only other Disney contribution is that I didn't notice that the Disney logo. I didn't see the D in the Disney logo until I was about 15. I always thought it looked like a backwards G.
Right,
Yeah, backwards Disney.
Backwards Disney.
Oh, well, I thought people used to say backwards Disney. Which
It
I thought
is. Just like it's GIF and not GIF.
Well, you can have that opinion.
Literally the creator of the GIF said it was
Merry
GIF.
Christmas.
We
Here's
got
your
it.
Go
gift.
golfing.
We got it. We gotta move.
Giraffe.
Move off of this. We gotta move off.
I
of
take
it.
your GIF and I give you a giraffe.
All right.
Giraffe, thank you.
Yeah, okay. I hope Remy froze up everywhere.
All right. For me, this was a game that like I saw advertised, and I was for Disney Dreamlight Valley, because I forgot what game we're talking about for a second. I am someone that was like that saw this being advertised, and I was just kind of like, all right, I get it. Like, Animal Crossing was the big, the pandemic hit, and Stardew Valley is obviously very beloved, and so they would, of course, want to make something that's like, hey, let's make it Disney and do that. I really didn't have much interest in this game. I don't know if I still do have interest in this game, because it's just not something that I would think I would be particularly into. However, I know that Kelsey and Anthony, I think, both started playing around the same time, and both of you guys seem to like it a lot, and I was just like, cool. I'm glad that it's working out, because again, it's considering the developer. I was a little bit like hesitant that it would not work out, but it seems like I said, like, give them credit. They've been doing well with these Disney games as of late.
I have to say that I logged in when I first got it, played pretty decently and hard for like a couple of weeks. I have not touched it since last September.
Okay,
I've not touched it at all. I completely think it's the most boring shit ever. Like, it had my attention for like
the ice cream truck.
Ice cream.
Mr. Softy!
I was not. Why did they come around at 7:54? This is the worst time.
Summer. It's almost summer.
The sun is out, Chris.
Yeah, come on.
The sun is, first of all, the sun's like almost down over here. Second of all,
fair. I forgot I lived.
First of all, you
different
forget
time
that
zone.
we're on a different time zone than you.
And second of all, it's like the end of the day. Like, it's,
that's when the kids are home and they probably just finished the dinner.
You gotta do it at high noon,
Elsie, can we get ice cream?
They're at fucking school.
Chris.
They're fucking in school, Chris.
Well, does it have to be?
They're fucking in the schools? Jesus Christ, what goes on in your neighborhood?
They are. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be I know it's children targeted usually, but it could be like adults that want ice cream.
Don't say children targeted. That sounds bad.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. But
sure.
Ice cream trucks are for everyone. Hashtag ice cream for everyone.
Hashtag Pride Month. Pride merchandising. Ice cream is for everyone.
Exactly.
Don't tell Disney. Anthony, I like this ghostly picture of what looks like a pro MLB player it's like a robotic ghost running across the beach.
Oh, you mean my caked up ghost?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah. Wow, that is caked up right there.
It's caked up.
Anyone have any other thoughts?
The
about
second
this
photo kind of looks like Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think that they had something cool going, but it doesn't keep my attention. But it was worthwhile. I didn't think of turning mine into a capitalist nightmare like Anthony did, but I did cry when I
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I did cry when I rescued Wally, but that's just because Wally is precious.
Wally's precious. I mean, and who knows? Like, this is early access still. Maybe full release, it'll get a lot more interesting. We'll see how it goes. All right, we move forward from our Disney conversation, and again, the thoughts expressed by our hosts does not represent the entirety of Gaming Coop and TBKS Productions as a whole. Who cares? Anyways, SpongeBob. We've talked about that guy before. He has a new game. Came out in February of this year, at the very early onset of February. And it was SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake. This is, I would describe it, even though it's maybe more of like a spiritual successor, it's pretty much a sequel, I would say, to Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's this was a game that was developed by Purple Lamp Studios, who were the ones responsible for the rehydrated remake of Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it was their first shot at making a more original game that wasn't a terrible multiplayer mode in Battle for Bikini Bottom. But yeah, both myself and Matt played this around the time of launch, because both of us are huge SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom fans, and just in general SpongeBob video game fans, I would say.
Yeah.
And so I would say with the Cosmic Shake, you have a very good SpongeBob game that I don't think hits the highs of Battle for Bikini Bottom, but one that I think is pretty solid, especially if you have kids who are fans of the even like I would say this is like Battle for Bikini Bottom is the perfect SpongeBob game when you are thinking about the older seasons of SpongeBob. It is a great representation of that era, where I think Cosmic Shake is a good representation of what SpongeBob is today. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people who look at today's SpongeBob seasons and don't love them, and that's totally fair and valid. I don't think I do either. But I think it is like a perfect representation of what SpongeBob has become. It has the same writers that are on the TV show today, and it's also filled with references to the show, both old and new, throughout. And I think it's a lot of fun. So, what is the Cosmic Shake specifically? Essentially, SpongeBob and Patrick. They are visiting. It opens up with them visiting Glove World, and they run into Madame Cassandra, who is a fortune teller, and they buy this magic bubble soap. And once they start blowing bubbles, they start talking about what dreams they want to come true, because that's apparently what the bubbles would do. And then suddenly everyone gets teleported via the bubbles to various different dimensions, and it becomes a multiverse situation. Or not multiverse, that's maybe not the right term, but more so it becomes a situation where everyone is different, living in different universes of Bikini Bottom. And so SpongeBob is then tasked with cleaning up his mess with the help of Patrick, who wished that he was a balloon and therefore is your buddy in balloon form. And I guess that's their argument and way of having you not play as Patrick in the game. It's weird. There's a lot of weird things about this game. I love it, but it's weird. So a lot of how I would describe this game is that it's a platformer. It is a 3D platformer, but I would say that compared to BFBB, it's where the first game is more of like an open world collectathon game. This is much more linear, much more like, hey, get through these set of levels, meet these objectives, and then you'll basically accomplish what you need to do with that level, and then move on. I found it to be not as exciting as the older game, but I did enjoy myself. I think there's a lot of fun set pieces in this game, a lot of fun moments of like in the beginning you have this like train chase where you're chasing Mr. Krabs down when he's on a train, and you're riding on a steed or a seahorse, and chasing after him, and then you kind of have to like make your way onto the train and then defeat enemies as you're trying to reach Mr. Krabs. There's also a segment where you're in rock bottom and you turn into SpongeBob the snail, and then the snail version of SpongeBob is like this weird segment where you're trying to like maneuver through things without being able to jump, and you're moving kind of slowly, and you're trying to like get through obstacles. And I don't know, I enjoyed that. There's so many moments in this game, so many different ways that they kind of differentiate with the gameplay at times to kind of fit with the theme of these worlds and these levels. Now, it's worth noting that the levels, for the most part, are a lot of the same locations that we're used to seeing in this type of game. So, like Jellyfish Fields, once again, is back in this. Downtown Bikini Bottom is back in this Goo Lagoon, and Rock Bottom, like I mentioned earlier. But what they did was that these are all taking place in different dimensions, and so they all have a different theme to them. So Jellyfish Fields taking place in like a Wild West type theme, and Downtown Bikini Bottom is that you're showing up and it's like a movie set. and you were trying to get Sandy back, who is now like a superstar for starring in karate movies, and you have the pirate Gulagoon and the Halloween Rock Bottom. There was like one newish area, if I remember correctly. There was Sulphur Fields, medieval Sulphur Fields, which I thought was interesting. I actually felt like when I was in that world, I was just like, this doesn't look like Sulphur Fields like in SpongeBob, like what was in the SpongeBob show, but that's fine. Whatever. It was still at least a new site and something interesting to see. I think this game, I think above anything else, the highest compliment I could give it is that it's probably the prettiest of the SpongeBob games. I really love the way that the art style is in this game. A lot of really cool set pieces, like I mentioned earlier. There's a really cool shot, especially when you're in Glove World. There's a Glove World level in this game, and there's a shot of the Krusty Krab, which also like random buildings were like brought into different dimensions too. It's weird. It's a whole weird storyline thing. The Krusty Krab is hoisted in the air, and there's like this really cool light that's like in the background of it. If I could find it, I would love to share it with you guys, but I just think that they did a really good job with how this game looks and how it presents. There's a lot of different cosmetics that SpongeBob could wear as well during the game. Again, a lot of it is reference to past episodes, and just cool outfits and or just silly outfits that you could put SpongeBob in. I thought it was neat. It had a bit of an abrupt ending, and there's definitely some interesting choices. Like, you have these levels that you go through, and then once you're done with that level, you can go up to someone randomly in like the Bikini Bottom hub area, and they're like, hey, I need you to collect such and such object for me. But like those objects were not there before, but they just happened to be there after the fact, so it kind of forces you to replay the level. I thought that was a weird decision. I thought that maybe like those collectibles could have just been there in the first place, and I would have just had to go back and get any ones that I missed the first time. Whatever. It's just, I guess it's just a way for them to have you replay the levels. But I thought it was really cute. I thought it was really a fun game for like in terms of SpongeBob games, and I like the moveset a lot. They kind of drip feed giving you all of your abilities over the course of the game, but I didn't necessarily mind that. I wish I had my full move set out of the gate, but I can understand that they want to like see how you do with like just the simple moves, and then kind of build up to that. Yeah, I thought it was a great time, and it's gonna probably be one of my favorite games from this year overall. And I'm just glad that they're making like legitimately good SpongeBob video games again. It's been a while since we've had something that is as good as this game in terms of when it comes to the SpongeBob department. So yeah, that's my take on it. Matt, I would love to hear from you about Cosmic Shape.
Yeah, SpongeBob is just inherently a fun world to play in. I really liked all the different styles of worlds. Gameplay was really solid, but you know, for me, it obviously did not nearly hit the same highs that Battle for Bikini Bottom did.
Right. Yeah.
Even the writing I found like really not great. It's rough. It's bad.
Well, like I said, it's a reflective of. This is a game that's reflective of newer SpongeBob. It is the current writing team of SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not going to hit.
No, but even then, just like it, like you could feel it was not great.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And then it had one of the most laughably bad final bosses that I've ever fucking played. Like, yeah. Like the boss itself would have worked fine, like as like just in the game boss. As a final boss, it was so stupid. Spoilers for the final boss of Cosmic Shake in 3, 2, 1. The mermaid like turns Squidward into like a giant monster that you fight just out of fucking nowhere. And it's not even like that fun or challenging. I don't know.
No,
I was really disappointed at the end. Didn't make me want to like. I did not 100% this game or anything like I do with pretty much every other collectathon I play. But then again, this game really isn't that much of a collectathon. So
right, I think it tries to seem like it is, but then the fact that they don't show all the collectibles right out the gate, it's just like, wait, you want me to replay the level again? Like it's weird. Very strange decisions on their part.
Yeah, so not the. I personally, I was not the biggest fan, but you know, it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, I like I said, I think it is definitely among the better of the SpongeBob catalog, because there is not like a huge catalog for that.
It does control really well.
Yes, and
I really like the movement and the action from SpongeBob. That is the best part.
Yes, I think that as a from a moveset point of view, and then like I love the visual aspect of this game as well. I think it looks very good. I think there is a lot of things. I guess my biggest issue with this game is that I think there was so much of it that they wanted to kind of be like a callback to Battle for Bikini Bottom. The fact that you could play in the fact that Glove World is a level which was originally a scrapped level for Battle for Bikini Bottom. The fact that they made that such a central part of the plot in this, and then the Squidward boss, which another one that I think they scrapped, and then they brought back in the multiplayer mode for Battle for Bikini Bottom, and then did something similar with the ending here, and none of it was good. I think that they were trying to do these callbacks, and it's just like I think that SpongeBob as a show, or as just like a world, I think deserves the chance to go beyond any of its references. I feel like there is a way that you can make these games and have it be something that's entirely new and unique. I don't mind. I do like references, but I think that like, okay, we got this game that's filled with references, and it's very much like from the beginning, from like the first trailer of this game, like they're like, yeah, we're leading into wanting to get like hit that nostalgia point for SpongeBob fans. I would love to see what they can do with this move set of SpongeBob, and maybe going back to an open world format, and then seeing, you know, what new ideas they can kind of bring to the table. Because I think this was a little bit of a mess, even though I sit here and I still would say like it is one of the SpongeBob games that I do like a lot more than a lot of the other games in the catalog. But that's that. What I would love to hear, just from a distance, if anyone else has anything to say about the Cosmic Shake.
Yeah, I watched you play it for a little bit when you first started playing it. And even just visually and the environment, you can see how much it took from Battle from Bikini Bottom, and just the fun of that whole game. And the fact that they wanted to follow up the fun of that just makes it look like a really fun time. So I'm really happy. It makes me really happy to hear that you had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and again, it definitely isn't perfect. It definitely has a lot of issues. I am hopeful that again they kind of keep on. I would love to see more SpongeBob games, and I would love to see them keep on working on it. And I think the more they work on it, the better that these games could be in the future. Yeah,
I'm just impressed that SpongeBob is such a long-lasting media piece at this point.
Yes,
like it is a classic for us because we grew up with the original, obviously, but like I had no idea that it was like I couldn't have predicted, 20 years later that it would still be so pervasive, that it would be like still on TV and still making relevant video games and things like that. Like, so I just think that's really cool.
That Nickelodeon definitely is running it,
especially because it was always like controversial when we were kids, where they would be like, my mom doesn't let me watch SpongeBob, and we felt like derelicts because our mom did. We'd be what's wrong with SpongeBob? That was such a weird thing.
It was my cousins specifically were not allowed to watch Ed, Edd n Eddy.
I was not allowed to watch Ed, Edd n Eddy either, and that was the only show that I was not allowed to watch.
But like, do you remember why?
I asked multiple times, and my mother said that she just didn't like it, and that they were quote stupid.
Well, yeah, that was the
Yes, true.
That was
Yeah,
was the
fair
idea, though.
My brother got scared of Courage, the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, me too.
Which
That's-
fair, but
that's
then we
fair,
weren't allowed
yeah.
to watch that for a while. And even like I remember, this is way off tangent.
That's good.
I turned on fucking like Boomerang when I was like 14 or something, and it was on. And my brother, 12, was still like, we're not allowed to watch that.
God.
Like that was years ago.
What a narc.
Yeah.
I definitely am. I'm surprised that it has lasted this long, but I think it's just because it's like Nickelodeon's moneymaker. Like
Yeah.
anything like that, they're gonna run it into the ground because it is the one thing that they can just keep on cashing in on. And I guess it does make sense that there is more SpongeBob video games. I think the biggest surprise for me though was the fact that they decided to remake Battle for Bikini Bottom. That to me was such a shocking moment because I was just like, man, I feel like people forgot about that game. And granted, like Matt and Matt, even like before that announcement, like you had been talking to me about the speedrunning community and how big Battle for Bikini Bottom was getting on that front. I just didn't think that THQ Nordic, which is a complete reboot of what THQ used to be, like it's not even the same company. Like the fact that they were like, hey, like we know that this is a game that people liked in the past, let's just recreate it, and they ended up doing a great job with it. Like it is wild that we're at this point with SpongeBob. We're like, oh wait, yeah, they're gonna make SpongeBob video games again, and they're gonna recreate one of the classics in that catalog, and then make something new. Like it's wild. But yeah, that will do it for talking about the Cosmic Shake. But we will now turn our attention to the mid-seg. And Walsh, what do you have in store for us?
Hello, everybody. I have horrors beyond your comprehension. Today we're going to be talking about some, today in today's episode we've been talking about licensed video games, and in order for a video game to be licensed, it has to have that agreement with the property. I want to talk about some unlicensed licensed video games. I want to talk about games that they are out here behind the wheel and they did not pass their driver's test. They're putting all of us at risk. So I'm going to have each of you pick a number from 1 to 15 because I have up an article published on July 18th, 2017 on thegamer.com. And here I have 15 of the cringiest Disney knockoff games.
Oh boy.
Most of these being games that you would, of course, find online, some kids' free-to-play games. So we're going to go in, and each game here that they have chosen for us also has a small description written by the author. I have not pre-read these, so we'll see how horrible these go. So let's go in order. Although I see Kelsey's muted. Kelsey, do you have a number for me from 1 to 15?
3.
3. All right. I can't tell if they get worse as they go down.
Probably.
Would you say 3?
Yeah.
Yes, I said 3.
All right. Pregnant Rapunzel neck surgery.
Oh, these types of games. No.
Princess Rapunzel from Tangled is about to give birth. Unfortunately, a serious throat infection threatens the lives of both her and her unborn child. She is having trouble breathing and requires immediate surgery. It's your job to play doctor and heal the princess. First, you have to find the tools you will need for surgery. After gathering your operating items, you have to slice open Rapunzel's throat. The game lacks blood and gore, but it still displays graphic detail inside the neck. Once you've found the infection, you have to use your tools to extract each section hidden around the opening. When the surgery is complete, you stitch Rapunzel's throat closed, apply antibiotics and ointment to chase away infections, then bandage her up.
That was awful to listen to.
That is, yeah, my goodness gracious.
Another one of these.
You were right. You had ungodly horrors to deliver to us.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Chris, are you ready for your Disney Zodiac?
Hi, post Coop Chris here. So we did this segment and it started out in a funny way, and the further we went, you could probably already tell from the first entry that we spotted here, it got more and more uncomfortable the further that we went, to the point where we just decided that it might just be better to not keep going with it. It got uncomfortable to a point where it just wasn't even funny anymore. And boy, people suck. Is what I'm going to say. In terms of people who make games like this, really are fucked up. But anyways, putting that aside, we're going to move forward here. We're going to talk about the Simpsons game right after a word from our sponsor, Virtual Ball Boys. I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt, and we're the Virtual Ball Boys.
During the NFL season, we will talk about the games and headlines on everyone's minds. Plus, we give our predictions for the weeks ahead.
In the off-season, we run our own fictional football league with tabletop gameplay mechanics.
Like that, listen to the Virtual Ball Boys on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will see you on the show.
Good night, and good ball.
All right. We will transition from that, and we will go to the world of The Simpsons. I feel like the last time we did a license segment, we did talk about a Simpsons game with the Simpsons Hit and Run, but we are going to talk about a game that came out in a few years later from EA. It's the Simpsons game based off of the movie. Matt, go ahead and take it away.
That's where you're wrong, Chris. This game is not based off of the movie.
Well, okay, it came out around the time of the movie.
Yeah,
It's not really tied into the movie like other movie tie-in games, but it was meant to be part of that marketing campaign.
I mean, so the Simpsons movie, like you know, the Simpsons came out. It was a parody of the American sitcom, the American sitcom Family. Simpsons movie, not necessarily. I would not call the Simpsons movie a movie parody by any stretch, but it's got some fun poking at movies, I think. But the Simpsons game really leans into this is a parody and a subversion of video games in general, and that is the appeal of it. The game itself, it's mainly, the best way I can describe it is kind of like a beat 'em up, where you just like you go through a bunch of levels, kind of like half beat 'em up, half platformer, kind of like the night levels of Sonic Unleashed is the closest comparison I can think of off the top of my head. And you just go through different aspects of the Simpsons world, some references to episodes, and a lot of references to other video games. With a lot of commentary on, like, you know, video games in general, some like pointing out some tropes, and then just kind of gets like weirder and weirder. Even if the gameplay like doesn't change too much area to area, I want to take you through a little bit of the plot of the game just to kind of go through it. So the first section of the game is just kind of like getting introduced to the four Simpsons family members that you play as: Homer, Bart, Marge, and Lisa. Homer is a lot of stuff based on food. He eats a lot and can balloon out into a giant round ball, and all of it like become like a force of combat where you just charge into enemies. Bart becomes Bartman and is basically like a Batman. He plays like Batman, I guess. Lisa is she has a lot of powers through her Buddhism connection, where she can like stun enemies with her saxophone, and when she meditates, she can like get a giant hand and like pick things up and move them around. And then Marge, who is the least playable character, only appearing in 3 levels total, it basically becomes Alamar and like commands people to do things. So each of the Simpsons has their own like gameplay thing, and there's always 2 of them per level because it is also a co-op game, which is pretty cool. You can either switch between characters or have one person play each character, kind of like a Lego Star Wars kind of thing. The video game references are all pretty good. A lot of them are like pretty low hanging fruit, but what was cool was seeing a bunch of different parodies of things that EA owned or other things that video game companies like. Some of them were cool with, some of them weren't. I'm looking at like some of the video game parodies like EA owns Medal of Honor, so you got Medal of Homer. There was a picture of a Pooh with Sitar Hero that Harmonix let them use Guitar Hero for, but Rockstar was not a fan of them having Grand Theft Scratchy as something. When you get a little bit later into the game to try to save the world, they tried to find the what they call the creator. So they first meet actual real EA game designer Will Wright, who basically like created The Sims. Like he was the original designer of The Sims.
Spores is his. I think Spores is his.
Spore is his thing. They fight him a little bit. And then after going into 4 video games, one's a medieval one is the Medal of Homer, one is a Katamari parody, and one is Grand Theft Scratchy. And that one is funny because it's Marge and Lisa, and they're basically trying to clean up the world of Grand Theft Scratchy to like make it family friendly. So it goes from like really gritty and dirty with like the fucking cartoon cats and mice to like being super family friendly. And I fucking hated that level because like at one point like a really like sappy song starts playing and it plays for a really long fucking time and I hate it. But after you get through all those, they're greeted by the creator, actual real person Matt Groening, played by himself, who then like sends clones of Dr. Zoidberg and Bender after them from Futurama. And once
this game is so unhinged.
It's insane. I love it.
I can't like I played this not very long ago, and I can't even remember how unhinged it is. And hearing these descriptions, I'm like, wait, I played this game in its entirety, and I don't feel like I have no memory of this. But Jesus Christ.
Well, speaking of Jesus Christ, the last level of the game to find the purposes, they go to heaven. And after going through that a little bit, they fight God in Dance Dance Revolution to the song "Rock You Like a Hurricane."
I think that's something that. Oh, I'm so sorry. You go first.
Oh no, it's okay. This is just a quick one. I was looking up the game to like look at the art style and stuff. And Homer's in a world made out of chocolate, and he's told to destroy the Marge fountains to stop enemies from respawning.
Yes. Yeah, it's the general like enemies respawn from things. You've played games like that before.
And you can press B for bad breath, and he has 2 charges.
No, he burps. He burps.
Oh, he burps. Okay.
Yeah, and that's an attack. That's an attack, though.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. So that's the first level. It's technically in Homer's dream. It's not actually part of it's the tutorial level. It's not actually part of reality. Then again, they do fight like the killer dolphins from the One Treehouse of Horror, and Lard Lad comes to life, and they got to fight the aliens and shit. So like, it's not all tethered in reality, but it's like their reality.
Okay.
And even at the very end, when it all like zooms out, like they realize that they're in a video game, and the video game is being played by Ralph Wiggum. So like, doesn't really matter in the end.
What were you gonna say, Kels? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off too.
No, I just wanted to say that I think that's something that like I'm not a Simpsons fan. I don't dislike the Simpsons, but I know next to nothing, and I've never watched an episode. Like I just am not. Simpsons culture missed to me entirely. So I only know like from playing Hit and Run, like a couple of the video games I played. But like beyond that, I know only what I've picked up in like media sources. But I think that what The Simpsons does beautifully well that so many later like adult cartoon type shows and media learned from them really and picked up from them is this nonchalant, absurdist humor that just like, yeah, of course this exists because why shouldn't it type of stuff that just like exists in their world. And it sounds like this game leans super into it and allows you to kind of experience that and enjoy it. And I think that's what makes The Simpsons so good and so long lasting. and digestible, is that it is what it is, and it's absurd, but that's what the beauty of it.
Absolutely. This game is also the head writer for this what is Matt Selman, who is now the Simpsons showrunner.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So the modern episodes, he's been like in the background for a long time. I forget who the name of the guy who came before him. But that guy, like in the 90s, like they would change showrunners every couple years or so. And then one guy, like around like season 12 or so, like Al Jean, that's his name. So Al Jean has been running The Simpsons for a really long time. And Matt Selman just is, I think, starting to take over from him.
Also, Hans Zimmer was a composer on this game.
That is great. Love that. Didn't know that.
Like, I just looking at the Wikipedia credits, Hans Zimmer is in there. And
Yeah.
That
I was
just
oh.
adds to the absurdity of the whole thing.
Yep. I don't know
In, like, a beautiful
what he
way.
wrote, or if they just like used his. I don't know, because Danny Elfman's name isn't in there. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll look deeper into this because it's only mentioned once in the whole article.
Yeah.
Simpsons game. While I am looking this up though, I think when I walked away from this game, it doesn't hit the highs of other past Simpsons games for me. But I really do appreciate it. As just what I love colorful, stupid video games. Like that's just if you are like if you need to put me into a certain vibe, that's me in a nutshell. And I love this game for embracing that and putting you into all these different circumstances and not really caring about how wild and ridiculous things get. Like the story doesn't even need to necessarily be coherent, it could just be funny, and that's it. Like I really appreciate it for that. I love the opening level of this game. I love like the Homer eating contest one. Those are both related to
Yeah.
both are related to food, so maybe that's just that's also a defining trait for me, is that I just like food themed levels. But even like the early level with like the museum, I thought was really cool. I loved all the parodies that they did of all the games. I hated the ending. I hated the Dance Dance Revolution. It's funny, don't get me wrong, funny.
Yeah.
But I was just so bad at it, and it took me a long time, and I was just did not feel satisfied when I finally did it. I was just like, all right, fuck this, I'm good. Thanks, and that's probably why I soured on the game over time. But maybe if I go back to it now, I would enjoy it more. But even still, like I appreciate this game for what it is.
Mm-hmm. So I am a massive Simpsons fan. I got into it when I was in middle school, and I like on Fox. It used to air 3 times a day on weekdays. So there would be an episode of 5, like it was like an episode of 5 and Central Time, episode of 5, episode of 6, episode of 10:30 that I had set to DVR all the time. And that is how I binged The Simpsons, essentially, way out of order. But just like whatever episode was on at that time, I would watch. And I would just get really into The Simpsons. And I fell out of it probably like freshman, sophomore year of college, where like, it wasn't good anymore when it was, and it like wasn't necessarily like the best, even like when I was in high school and stuff. But I would still like keep track of it every now and then, but fell off of it. And especially like after I graduated college, I hadn't watched it for a while. But last year I decided, you know what, I'm going to rewatch like all the Simpsons from like this point. And I had like already like watched like on Disney Plus or whatever, like watched through like the whole series up to like that point. So I was like, you know what, I'll just pick up where I left off from there. And I got through the early 20s, which are just not the best, but they have hit a renaissance in like of all things. Like fucking season 33 has like hit a renaissance. There is an episode in season 33. I think it's 33. Let me check. Yeah, season 33. It's a 2-part episode called A Serious Flanders. It's a fucking Fargo parody. And it is one of the best, like, it is probably one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons ever.
Yeah.
So if you don't even need to like know shit about The Simpsons, but A Serious Flanders, season episode 6 and 7 of season 33, watch those episodes. They're the best Simpsons episodes in definitely since the movie, I think. But even before then, like potentially since the 90s, it is a masterclass of an episode, and I want more people to watch it.
I do want to make one more note. I think actually the more I think about it, the level that I think I love the most is Big Super Happy Fun Game, because that was the one that was themed after Katamari, and themed after Pokemon and various Japanese made games. I thought that was super. I think they did a very good job of parodying that, like the mechanics of those games, and the aesthetic is very much like fits with what I love so much. I was gonna say something else, now I'm forgetting what it was. I think I was trying to look into the Hans Zimmer thing. It looks like he just composed the music for both the movie and the game.
No, okay.
So it doesn't really specify like a specific moment in time or anything like that. So. But yeah, what a special weird video game the Simpsons game is. I love it. But all right, now we move forward to another game that has that has many licenses that it takes on as part of its gameplay. It is Pinball FX, and Kelsey, you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so in trying to face this second licensed episode, I really peaked during our last licensed episode, so I feel like I really have nothing to make up for. I'm just gonna
that was the My Little Pony episode.
That was the My Little Pony episode. So my career just plummeted after that. I was like trying to think of what I could do, and then I threatened Matt that I was going to figure out a way to talk about Skyrim again, even though I haven't talked about that nearly as somebody else has talked about Final Fantasy.
I literally have dropped this.
I figured out a way to talk about Skyrim. So Pinball FX3 was published for pretty much every other platform in September of 2017, but it came to the Switch in December of 2017, which is where I picked it up, but only recently. Growing up, one of my absolute favorite GBA games of all time was Pokemon Pinball Ruby Sapphire, and it's like the only Pokemon game I've ever played, because I collected the cards, because that's what you did in the early mid-90s growing up. And I watched some of the anime, but I never really got into the games like other people did, except I wasted an entire summer playing Pinball Ruby Sapphire. I could draw those fucking maps and mini games for you. So I love pinball games, but I had forgotten that I love pinball games, and I don't really come across that mechanic very often. And so in researching things that had licensing, Pinball FX fell into my lap, and I found Pinball FX3 and I downloaded it. And I just at first did the base game, which in and of itself is really, really fun. And entertaining. I forgot to look up like general reception for it, but something that has it listed on their wiki page, it has listed accolades where it said the game was nominated for the Central Park Children's Zoo's Award for Best Kids Game at the New York Game Awards in 2018. And it won the award for game, special class at the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers Awards. So, not your standard accolades that you'd normally find for video games, but I think the Central Park Children's Zoo Award, I've heard, is extremely prestigious. It was unfortunately only a nominee. It did not win that one, but hey, also the fact that they're calling this a kids game is fucking bullshit. The shit's hard. These are intense fucking pinballs. So the fact that it's being like, oh, it got nominated for a kid award. Fuck those kids. Fucking savants in Central Park. Like the men who wasted decades at the chess tables. There's some like dorky kids kicking everybody's ass at pinball. I don't think so.
Wow.
Anyway.
Shots fired.
Anyway, so I think personally the modern draw, first of all, the developer is Zen Studios, and I don't know what else they do, full disclosure, but people fucking love these guys. They're all over the place. They are apparently the company is considered synonymous with licensed pinball tables, which makes sense. And this is like pretty much what they do. Their headquarters is in Budapest, though, which I think is pretty interesting as far as where developers are located. So the biggest draw, I think, for this game in modern times is their packs that you can buy that are licensed. So like free tables, you get the Sorcerer's Lair, which was pretty cool. That's not a licensing of anything. And then there are classics, and then they have like carnivals and shit, whatever. But then one of their first licensed things that they came out with was the Walking Dead pinball. Then they dropped their Universal Classics, which includes E.T., Back to the Future, and Jaws. They came out with a 3-pack for Jurassic World with 3 different parks, an Alien versus Pinball pack, which is actually what originally brought me to Pinball FX. I was going to talk about the Aliens one. They have a shit ton of Star Wars packs. There's like Star Wars Pinball Heroes Within, Star Wars Pinball The Force Awakens. Anything Star Wars you can think of, I think, is included. Huge Marvel packs, Avengers. Heavy hitters include Venom, Deadpool, and Civil War. They have Age of Ultron. They have Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Thor. All of these have their own tables that you can play. There's a Portal Pinball, which is like, I think, $2 to buy the Portal pinball. I didn't personally play the Portal one, but it looks really cool. I had shared some YouTube clips on the media page that are like just a minute to watch them, but I sent the general Pinball FX trailer and then the Bethesda specific one, because the Bethesda one was one that I picked out. They have a Balls of Glory pack that includes Family Guy, American Dad, Bob's Burgers, and Archer, all different tables for them.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like the amount of shit that they do is insane, in my opinion. They just dropped an Indiana Jones one recently. Anyway, I'm talking about the Bethesda pack, and specifically the Skyrim pack, which came out the game dropped for Switch in December 2017, and the Bethesda pack launched in early April 2018. So it wasn't even like you had to wait for this stuff to come out. On Metacritic specifically, it has an 80% overall for critic reviews, the Bethesda Pinball Pack specifically, with an 8 out of 10 for user score. So it's like very beloved. And when I tell you the reviews on here are like, I cannot wait to see what Zen Studios comes up with next. This blew me away. Every Bethesda fan should get this pack. Like, absolutely, people shitting themselves over how good this is and how beloved it is. A lot of reviews in the high 90s. So, I loved the details and how intense they got with the boards. Like, for example, the Skyrim pack, when you load into the Skyrim board, you actually pick a class and roll for your character. So like you pick an elven archer or whatever, and they actually have things that impact your board play. And then there's an animated Alduin on the board that like lights shit on fire, and you have to like throw the ball around. I named myself Clueless for this because I don't fucking know what's going on. It is so intense. There's so much shit going on these boards. I just try to hit the shiny ball into the slots, and I just try to get the points, the pointy points and the shiny blingies. That's all I care about. It is so intense. And so in that same pack, they have the Skyrim pack. Then they have, so like as an example of how clueless I am, I keep triggering an event where they're like, first challenge, fight the dragon. And they're like, it has like the Skyrim music, like it plays ambiently. it has like Solitude, and like different songs from the game by Jeremy, whatever the fuck his name was, because he's a dirtbag, it turns out. But you know, these things from the soundtrack, like the actual ambiance from the sound from the game, the vibe, the fight sounds, like it is so. It has like they have sigils on the board and mini games that you unlock that are like inspired by the game. Then there was Doom and Fallout as well. Anthony played the Doom and Fallout. I didn't really play them. I just played the Skyrim one and a few from other packs. But just the level of detail is so much fun if you're somebody who really, really loves the games, to see how they manipulate them and implant them onto the board. Even though I have not a fucking hint of a clue of what I'm doing, and I'm just punchy the buttons to get it going. It's still just a really fun and interesting time, and I am so impressed by their catalog of licensures for what they're able to create in the game. And I would imagine they probably are just creating like essentially skins over the same board over and over again, but they do an incredible job. The other game board that I played was in their Universal pack, which includes Jaws, E.T., and Back to the Future. And I played the Back to the Future one, and it was so much fucking fun. Marty McFly skateboards across the fucking pinball thing. And like Doc comes out of nowhere and starts yelling at you, and there's quarters on the thing, and the clock tower, the broken clock. There's the flux capacitors on the board, and if you hit something enough times, it lights up and the DeLorean shows up. Like just really cool shit that they get. I feel like I sound like a crazy person, but it's just so much fun and so interesting.
I will say just to because I watched you play a lot of this. I don't even think that they are reskins of the same pinball board. I think they do a pretty good job of differentiating what happens on the pinball board.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Granted, that like how much mechanically can you change a pinball machine around? But
I guess that's what I mean. Yeah, I felt like it was like they have to retain some classics about the pinball machine, because it essentially is like a simulator where you're walking up to a machine and then you're in the board watching all of it happen. So like there's only so much they can do with that format, but they really do knock it out of the park. Like it's really cool.
Right. Yeah,
But you're right. It's probably much more. I made it sound very simplified and janky. It's not. I just am clueless. I am clueless. I downloaded it. I paid the money. It's adorable. I love it, and I play it, and I do not get the high scores because I don't know what's going on. But it's still fun time.
It's genuinely impressive, and I think it definitely like the Portal levels. I think the only one that I ended up playing on it, and but like the level of detail in that one is so cool. Like you have Wheatley yelling at you the whole time, and then you have segments where you have GLaDOS like activate like a bunch of turrets, and then you could go. Then your pinball enters an area where you could try to knock over the turrets. If I'm remembering it, what was happening.
I just dropped the picture in the chat of the Portal one.
It is super duper cool looking, and I just think they did such a great job with it. I love pinball too, so I'm glad that we found it, because I think it's really, really the delight.
So impressed, and I am so shocked that I hadn't heard of it before now. I mean, I also am like very sheltered and narrow in like what I play and what I pay attention to. So there's not, if this hadn't been a part of like a sale that was ongoing when I looked it up, I probably wouldn't have even but I'm telling you, for whatever reason in my brain, I got hooked on the Alien series because I love Alien, and then found this, and that's what led me here. And I didn't even download that pack. Like I got so distracted by the other packs and was like, ooh, Skyrim. And then remembered what I said about talking about Skyrim. And I was like, now I have to talk about Skyrim. So.
Yeah, I love the Bethesda pack. Like genuinely thrilled to play it. So I started with Fallout because Fallout's one of my favorite game series of all time. And they started off by asking me to assign my special stats, which are strength, perception, endurance, charisma, etc., etc. I'm like, this is a pinball board, though. And then I had to choose my faction and who was going to follow me. And, like, there was a shop that I could spend bottle caps at to get, like, different weapons and items. And I'm like, this is pinball, though. Like, what is going on? And I still didn't figure that out. It was too much for me. So I played the Doom board instead. And I think my favorite part about it is like the thing that you pull to like shoot the ball onto the table is different for each game. Like in Skyrim, it's I think it's Alduin like breathing fire on the ball, and on the Doom board, it's a chainsaw that you rev up and then drop on the ball, and it shoots up. And like as you send the ball around the table, it becomes like super heated. There are events that like create portals and have the lights on the table dim and become like glowing red. You fight demons, you pick up guns, and it's just incredible. Really, really fun. And I don't know what's happening, but I just get really excited with like all the flashing lights and noises. So, good time. I literally could not stop playing it. I was like, all right, Kelsey, just finish this level, then I'll give you the controller back. And then I continued to play the Doom level like 3 or 4 more times. I didn't even think that I liked pinball, but I love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, hey, like, and I would be curious about how many of. I mean, granted, there are things happening in this game that are not possible in real life, but I wonder how many of these machines are based off of real life themed machines, because pinball machine collecting is a big deal. That's like that is a thing that people. That's like one of those uh like niches that we don't think about often, but like people love collecting pinball machines, and
It's addicting.
there's so many out there that
And
I would
like,
not be surprised if they're like real life versions of these as well.
and when Anthony was just saying like that he would be like, I didn't even think I liked pinball. When I tell you that I was literally watching you guys, like I would literally give you the controller and be like, you try. And I'd leave the room and I'd come back and you looked like something had possessed you. Like that it was so like intense, the like ability to get drawn in. Like there's no wonder there's an entire like weird cult culture around like pinball games. But I was gonna say something else, I forgot what it was. Something to your point that you just made, Chris, but I lost it.
About like there being a
Oh yeah.
audience for collecting.
So in looking up like what I wanted to talk about and just make sure that I had like the dates and the developer information correct, I kept coming across that there are people who have built certain stands and like monitors, like contraptions that have like a monitor, like a vertical monitor, and like abilities to plug your joysticks into the side and dock your Switch in the front, where they've essentially made computerized tabletop pinball vessels that you can plug the Nintendo Switch into in order to play like a tabletop pinball with Pinball FX.
Oh my god.
Like I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but and then I even saw people who even went to the extent of people have built fully standing pinball machines using the Nintendo Switch and the Pinball FX platform.
Yeah.
Like wild, like very cool, innovative, wild stuff. But like I forgot that pinball is such a thing, and I couldn't believe how excessive Pinball FX has gotten with how much. Like when I tell you that it looked like there was more than 20 Star Wars specific pinball themed packs in Pinball FX3, I was like, holy shit, like there's so much that you can get into and like do. And there's also like there's multiplayer, there's online competitions, kind of like Tetris 99. Like there's so much that it's wild, but I just had a good time with it, and I was like, this is technically licensed.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm going to use it for the Coop.
A lot of licenses.
Yeah.
And I believe there's I think Pinball FX just the new one, the newest game I think just came out, but I think it's an Epic Game Store exclusive. So we'll see once that gets released to more platforms, and how good those packs are that come out with the new game. So it's gonna be interesting. I love that that you ended up finding it, and falling in love with it. Yeah. Anyone else on Pinball FX, or shall we move forward? We shall move forward. Finally, we're going to talk about a franchise of games that is beloved, one of the most beloved licensed game franchises in the history of video games. I would say it is. Forgive me. I believe that this one was developed by Rocksteady, but you could give me that information, Mr. Walsh, because you're talking about Batman Arkham City.
Yep, that's part of the Arkham game series.
Yes, yeah.
It being the sequel to Batman Arkham Asylum, the game before Batman Arkham Knight. But I wanted to pick this one because I think that it is the best one within it. Following the events of the first one, which is Batman going around Arkham Asylum, they have decided, well, Arkham Asylum is getting pretty full. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a whole section of the city and we're going to more or less quarantine it, close it off to the rest of the city, move everybody out, and now that entire section of the city is essentially one large prison. And that is what Arkham City is. And I find the entire game not only incredibly fun, the gameplay being very fun, having that, much like the Spider-Man games, like we have talked about before, being able to explore this very large world and being able to use different gadgets, being able to stealth around and take people down, being able to have these intense boss fights. But I also find it to be, I don't really want to say, but kind of peak Batman in a way, where you have Kevin Conroy as Batman, who is a fantastic voice of Batman. You have Mark Hamill as the Joker, and you have this huge ensemble of characters. And while there is a main storyline throughout it, a lot of these side missions and side quests feel almost as important as the main mission. And they are just as interesting as well, as you look through and you see anyone from the Penguin to Catwoman to Harley Quinn, all of these very interesting characters, all where it comes down to the plot revolving around, because of the events of the last game, Joker is dying due to a toxin in his blood. And after a little bit in the game, Batman is captured by the Joker and is injected with that same blood. And at the same time, the Joker has sent that blood to a nearby hospital, and now that hospital has that blood working in its patients. And so it is your job to get a cure for this toxin before it can kill the Joker, before it can kill you, before it can kill innocents. And you have to go from location to location, taking down different people. But I find the use of all these different gadgets, creating these very intricate puzzles, at the same time taking down a lot of really fun and interesting bosses in different ways, while the combat itself feels incredibly smooth. I might not be the most educated on what games kind of came first, but the Arkham games, I felt like, really created that first feeling of, like in a lot of superhero games where it is, you can use your attack buttons, but then they'll give you a heads up that it is important to parry to continue that flow of motion. And it creates this just fun feeling when you're playing it. It creates a flow of action as you move and you attack and you fight, so that the stealth feels fun, so that the combat feels fun, all of the mechanics of it feel fun. And all of the characters and anybody from small little things, you find a little Riddler trophy. And the Riddler is like, haha, Batman, you found my little trophy, but can you find all the other ones? To the actual main plot. Even if you don't know the characters very well, it still comes together to become this really great game. I think that it is the best one in the series. I've only played a bit of Arkham Knight, but I have played Arkham Asylum. Arkham City really, just builds out the whole area instead of it just being, a building that you can go from area to area in. You have this entire city to explore with all of this different stuff in it. And while it's not a lot of time that, supposedly passes through the game, supposed to be like, oh, it's all happening over one night. Unless I could double check that. I think that Gotham's supposed to be usually covered in a lot of clouds and smog through the day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is just an incredibly fun and incredibly engaging game that is just, I think the biggest thing is just so fun to play. It's fun to move. It's fun to fight. It's fun to even just glide around around the place. You want to grapple up to the nearest building and just glide down.
Yeah. Anyone have anyone else here play Batman Arkham City by any chance, or is it just?
So,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, I didn't play it. I'm looking forward to it because I got a Steam Deck, and it apparently the whole series runs really well in it. But like, just looking at the city is absolutely breathtaking. They nailed the visual feel of it, and I can tell you for a fact that people are still comparing graphics on video games today to the graphics from this series of games.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
And like, so cool that you now get to explore the whole city. Like, obviously, why would you put convicts in their own little part of the city? But like, it was the next step for the game to go in. So I think that's awesome.
There's a lot working behind the scenes, and it's like, all right, well, it sounds like some villains are also kind of very high up in politics, as you'll even find out too. There's a lot of people pulling strings as well. It's not as simple as the easy argument of like, why doesn't Batman just fund money into these resources and things? It's also there are people who need your help tonight, and you have the resources to help them right now. And it just makes you feel so cool when moving around and you sneak up behind anybody from very important characters to NPCs, and you hear them talking and you hear them having discussions. Oh, it's the bat, and then you surprise them. It really helps you create and move in this world. And it's no surprise that people are still talking about it. I really do think that the thing people don't realize too is just how fun it is to move and to like attack and to just play the game itself.
I also want to check this game out. I'm never been the biggest superhero fan. I mean, was, but my uncle loved taking me to these to the movies and making me watch them when I was a little kid. But I think I had like a Spider-Man phase when I was like 6. And that was it. That was the extent to it. But speaking of that, I did play Marvel Spider-Man last year for the first time, which is the 2018 game from Insomniac, and it's very interesting. There is like a discourse of like which games are better, is Marvel Spider-Man or the Batman franchise, and I do feel like it's a bit of a ridiculous argument to make because they're both.
I think that goes back to the DC versus Marvel,
right? Well,
fandom war.
100% that, and I think part of it too is I look at it and I'm like, well, you have Rocksteady kind of established itself as being like this amazing developer because it had this set of games from in the Arkham franchise that are just so beloved, and I feel like Insomniac is just getting its feet wet right now with Marvel Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong, Marvel Spider-Man, great game, I loved it, but I feel like I hear so much more about legacy and like so much more about like the impact on the video game industry from these games and how impactful these games were, and the fact that I enjoyed Marvel Spider-Man makes me think that if I went back and played these games, I'd probably also have a pretty good time with them. I think it's I think it's just really cool that like how cool it is that we have these worlds that you could kind of just get lost in that are based off of comic books, that are based off of I mean, and like we've seen Batman on TV, we've seen Batman on movies, but to have like a video game be like and be able to immerse yourself as Batman in these worlds, like I just think it's just a really, really cool concept. I would say Batman's not like my favorite hero. If I had like of what I know about superheroes, I would not put Batman very high on that list of like superheroes I like. But I feel like the stealth elements of this game, the open world where you could just kind of like go around and do collectibles and side quests and things like that, I feel like I might be into as well. I'm looking forward to checking it out because they're that studio and these games just have such a legacy behind them that at least the legacy of the studio might get tarnished with Suicide Squad's release, but that's a different conversation. But anything else about Batman Arkham and specifically Arkham City?
No, yeah. If you haven't played it, even if you don't know much about Batman, even if you haven't played the game before it, I actually played City before I played any of the other Arkham games.
Oh, okay.
And I still had a blast with it.
Okay, that's actually good to know. That's cool.
I don't know what it is. I just had for some reason, I just kept getting a lot of sequel games without realizing that there were ones before it. Like I played this before Asylum. I played Portal 2 before I played Portal. I played Borderlands 2 before I played any other Borderlands. Which I each think that the sequel one, of course, is the better game.
Right.
So it was interesting to jump on at those points.
Yeah, it's so interesting when you talk about games and when you get onboarded onto a series in such a different way than other people do. Because I actually still hear today people would swear by Portal 1 over Portal 2, and I think it's because of how much more like not that it wasn't as story focused. It had a story to it, but it was so much more about going through the puzzles, and it just had the simple concept of like, all right, you're going through the facility, then you're about to be killed, you escape the facility and you go beat the big bad. It just had this simple structure but with really incredible puzzles. And like I think that I get why people say Portal 1 is better than Portal 2, because and then Portal 2 is just so much longer and has a much beefier story. I think Portal 2 is much better, but that's just me.
See, the Portal 1 likers really like the one floating ball puzzle.
Yes,
that's
I do.
That's not in Portal 2.
Right. Yeah, that is the thing holding Portal 2 back truly at the end of the day. But yeah, I love it. I that's always a fun conversation to have though, about like when you get started with games and how it like reflects like your opinion on those games as well. It's cool. The mind's a weird place.
See that a lot in like the Star Wars fandom too. Like there are people who are like me, where I'm a latecomer. I love the latest films just as much as the beginning, but there are people who are like original people who feel differently, and I respect that. But I think it's like you can find that in a lot of different media pieces.
Right, 100%.
Like SpongeBob.
Like SpongeBob, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Announcement. Which we won't go deep into detail just yet, but the Gaming Coop is planning a reboot. We are basically we've been on season 1 for close to 3 years now, and it's just time for a change. It is time to shake things up and try something a little bit different. So next 2 episodes, which you'll get in June and July, are going to be normal-ish episodes. I mean, the next month we're going to be doing our most anticipated games, most anticipated games, so the games that we're looking forward to coming out within the next few years. And then July is going to be kind of a reflection on the first season of the Coop. I don't know in what form that's going to take yet, but we'll see. And then season 2 will come in August. And again, I don't want to go too deep into detail on that just yet, because we're going to try to figure things out. I do have a plan, but we'll just see how it goes. And so I don't want to promise anything or do anything in confirmation. But all I know is that we are going to shift gears as a podcast here pretty soon, and I'm excited because I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to make it. I think it's going to make the show better than it already is. But I'm excited to take the journey with you guys. So, with that said, thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, most anticipated games next month. Let us know what you are looking forward to in the rest of 2023 and 2024 and beyond. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. And until then, game on. The Gaming Coop is brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Follow us on Twitter at The Gaming Coop or follow our other work at Team Chaos Pods.